Thursday. This is episode 1054. We are live on all iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, on all the podcast platforms. So fans, please tune in. Everybody knows about our Spreaker app. You can ask questions on that app, as everybody knows, to each of our guests that comes on the show. But today we are joined by a really special guest. His name is Dave Anderson. He is currently the Dodgers minor league pitching coach for the Great Lakes Loons. Go follow him on Instagram. You can follow his stuff there. He does a great job. I've seen his stuff on Instagram, and a great pitching coach. And obviously, Dodgers have a great development staff down there in the minor leagues. And as you can tell, the Dodgers are one of the top class organizations in baseball right now. So, and Dave Anderson is part of that, and part of the minor league prospects down there. So I'm really looking forward to dissecting all the Dodgers prospects there that he's been working with. But Dave, thank you for joining the show today. And fans, like I said, ask questions to him. This is going to be a good one. So how are you and your family doing today?
Awesome. We're doing great. Really appreciate your time and having me on.
Yeah, no problem. So I got to ask you first, tell our fans, what's it been like for you transitioning from, obviously you pitched, you were a pitcher back in the day. Also, you play baseball and you were a pitcher. And so take us to what's it been like transitioning from a player to a coach, now teaching the great young talent that you guys have there, and then being a pitcher yourself, and telling them your journey as a pitcher.
No doubt. That's a great question. I think for me, it was pretty evident early on I was going to play as long as I could. And whenever that day came that my playing career was done, I wanted to get into coaching. So I was lucky enough to, right when I stopped playing, coach at my alma mater at Muhlenberg College. So I coached in the collegiate ranks for a little bit, managed some college summer teams, and then I was lucky enough to get the opportunity to join the Dodgers organization. And, there's guys from every walk of life, different cultures, different countries, college guys, high school guys, and they all have the same goal. So it's great to work with them towards a common goal with different paths. But I think the biggest thing that we see is those guys are hungry. So it makes it really easy to work with, for sure.
Yeah. So did you ever think, when you were pitching, did you ever think maybe you could have continued your pitching journey career and possibly make it to the majors?
I kind of took it a day at a time. I was a D3 pitcher. I was confident that regardless of whether someone was better than me or not, I was going to find a way to win that game. So I kind of had that mentality. I think my career would have been a little bit longer had I known the things from the pitching department that I've learned with the Dodgers, if I knew that when I was playing, for sure. But yeah, I think the goal was always to be in the big leagues in some capacity, one way or another.
Yeah. So tell our fans about how did you get the opportunity with the Dodgers, and obviously how grateful are you to be part of this organization? Like I said, the top class organization in baseball with the Yankees, I would say. But for you, how did you get the opportunity, and obviously working with them and connecting with Dave Roberts, the manager of the major league team?
No doubt. I'm beyond grateful every day to be a part of the organization. I don't take lightly putting on the LA logo. It's special. We go to the Dominican Academy. There's just fans walking around wearing LA hats there, and you just start to see the support system you have from the fans. So I think that's a big piece, that it's a special culture to be a part of. And then inside the organization, it's unlike anything I've ever been a part of. They support everybody to the fullest. Everybody pushes each other. You're continuing your education. And there's just a lot of great minds that bring different perspectives. And it's, how do we find one solution for this guy? If that doesn't work, how do we find the next one? So it's just definitely something really special to be a part of. And it starts with Dave Roberts up top.
Yeah.
Incredible manager. And it's pretty special during spring training when we're all in the same spot and we get to see kind of all the recipes cooking at the same time.
I got to ask you, I found an interesting thing that people might not know about you. Did you hit too back when you were playing?
So I actually went to college as a shortstop.
Okay.
I played my freshman year mostly as a shortstop, and then we had a coaching change, and I hopped on the mound in a fall scrimmage, and then I no longer hit after that.
Yeah, because I saw that you were a hitting coach at Low A for the Quakes, the Rancho. Can't pronounce the second word, but the Rancho Quakes. You were a hitting coach down there.
So that year, Rancho Cucamonga, I was going to be a development coach, which is kind of, you're aiding the hitting coach, you're aiding the pitching coach, and you're basically just everybody's assistant. And unfortunately, that was 2020. So that season never came to fruition.
Yeah.
But we took unbelievable advantage of the time we had. And instead of using that as a year off for the minor leaguers, we took that as a year to get ready for 2021. So the players got better, and I know myself, my personal development as a coach really took off that year. So I'm really grateful for that.
All right. So we are live with Dodgers minor league pitching coach Dave Anderson from the Great Lakes Loons. We already have a fan question for you that just popped in here in our app. One of our fans wants to know some of your best moments as a pitcher when you were playing.
Oh, that's a really good question. I think it was probably my first professional start. I went to a bunch of open tryouts, and then got signed with the Bridgeport Bluefish in the independent leagues for one week, and I threw well. They traded someone else. They signed me for another week, took me to Sugar Land, Texas, threw well again, and they traded another guy and signed me for the rest of the season. So for me, that was a really redeeming moment, just to keep climbing and finally reach a point where I felt like I was a part of what I wanted to become, for sure.
Yeah, so you're gonna like this. So we had the opportunity to cover Trent Thunder this year with our company called Jersey Sporting News, and we got to cover the form of Jojo Rodriguez from Trent Thunder, and you used to coach him.
Yeah,
He got excited when I promoted your interview, and I interviewed him in person at the stadium, and he's awesome, a great guy, and now he's doing big things with the Mets minor league team. And what was it like coaching him, Jojo Rodriguez, seeing his development? Obviously, I saw his development firsthand with Trent Thunder. He improved a lot on his stuff. And what was it like being part of his journey and now seeing him succeed with the Mets?
Man, Jojo, he's a top 1% guy in the terms of he's not going to be stopped. His story is unbelievable. He's had so many turns and twists that he could have said, this is enough. And that kid just keeps his head down, and he's going to push his way in the door. And I have no doubt now that his foot's in the door with the Mets, he's not going to stop rising. I will say about him, he is always asking, like, what can I do better to get to the next level? What's next? So he's not complacent. He's got incredible talent, but it's the mental skills that are going to keep pushing him forward, for sure. Incredible player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so to take us back to the 2020 year, obviously that was a tough year for everyone with COVID and not knowing what's going to happen, and all the sports shut down, and seasons had to get canceled, especially for you guys. Baseball season got canceled. And how tough is that for you? Let our fans know how tough is that for you and your players, that knowing that you're not going to have a season, but there's other ways you can train for during the off season. But how do you guys deal with that?
No doubt. I mean, I know the fans were devastated. We were just as devastated. But I think we did a really, really good job in terms of we still had our team. So this was going to be the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes, and we ran through a sim season. So we would game plan for guys. They'd go throughout sim games. We'd have them say, here's your 3 hitters. How are you going to approach them? And we used it as it was an education time for us. So we'd teach guys about the delivery, about arsenal mix, about pitch design. So we really use that to propel our guys forward in terms of how are we going to use this so it's not a lost year. And not only was it not a lost year, I think guys really got better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have another fan question for you. He's a big Yankee fan, and he was so happy when the Yankees traded Joey Gallo, and then we got playing beater. So I don't know if you worked with him. I don't know while you were down there. So one of our fans wants to know, what are the Yankees getting in Clayton Beater? Actually, we got to cover him when he was at Somerset. But one of our fans wants to know, what are they getting in him in the future?
You're going to get a big fastball. He is an extremely physical presence on the mound. He's a bulldog on the mound, but his pitch mix is extremely unique. He's got an arm slot that's unique pretty much just to him. If you look at the arm path with his release metrics, you're not going to find many comps just because of how unique it is to his throw. The fastball is really heavy, rides a lot, and it's one of those fastballs that if it pops up 94, it's playing like 98. He's done a really good job developing the off-speed arsenal. He's got a big 12-6er, and he developed a pretty tight little cutter. Since he went to Somerset, I'm not sure what his mix looked like, but it's big stuff and it's a big arm.
Yeah, when we covered him, actually we were able to cover one of his starts. He was dominant. He struck over like eight batters in like 4 or 5 innings. His breaking ball stuff is nasty, and obviously you mentioned the fastball. He was dominant that day when we saw him. Yeah,
The other thing about him with that is the fastball and the curveball overlay extremely well. So pitch recognition is difficult, and he's really starting to put it together. I'm excited for Clayton. Beats is A+ human, and he's an exciting arm for sure.
Yeah, ever since he got to Somerset, he changed his whole repertoire, and now he's like he's a stud.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You got good things coming there, I think.
Yeah. So during your career, have you got any advice from former MLB players or that you connected with? What was that one key advice you got in your career?
Man, I was really lucky when I got to Bridgeport. I was 22 years old, just came out of college, and to my left was DJ Mitchell. In my locker to the left was DJ Mitchell, Yankee reliever.
Oh,
To my right had David Carpenter.
wow.
So I just became a sponge. I was the youngest one in the locker room by 4 or 5 years, and I think the biggest thing I learned is they'd go throw pens. I'd just go sit and watch and just go seeing how, not even necessarily what they were doing, but how they went about it, because those big leaguers go about it in a different manner than other guys do. So just learning how to conduct your business by being around them, not necessarily one specific moment where I said, hey, how about this or that? They just taught me a lot just being around them, for sure.
Wow. Yeah, so we have another fan question for you. They want to know they want to know what are your thoughts on analytics, because a lot of teams use analytics now when it comes to pitching, and they want to know your thoughts on it, and they also want to know do you guys use it in the minor leagues a lot?
Yeah, we are, how do I say this? I think we do a really good job balancing the analytic piece with the traditional approach piece. And I think you can get too far on either end of the spectrum. If you're not blending both properly, you're probably missing the boat a little bit. But I think analytics allow us to flag things that you would not be able to identify otherwise. So I mean, analytics are here to stay. And that being said, there is so much benefit in player development that just navigates us in terms of which route should we go with him, which route should we go with him. And rather than seeing that 3 years down the line and say, man, why does this not work for this guy? We're probably flagging it a lot sooner and making an effective adjustment sooner as well. So I think it's just really important to balance both sides of that for sure.
Interesting. Yeah. So speaking of, so for you, when it comes to a pitching coach, and obviously if you see a pitcher struggling or don't have the mechanics that day, or struggling for like what 3 or 4 starts, so what do you try and do with them to change the mechanics and change up the repertoire? What are your keys when it comes to that?
For sure. I think backing that up even one step further, all of our departments are so intertwined. So you have performance science, who's doing biomechanical breakdowns. You've got your medical staff who's keeping you up to date where guys are physically at. You've got your training staff who are working in the weight room to overlay what we're trying to do with deliveries. So it's like a 4 or 5 pronged attack. If I call up and say, hey, I didn't like the lower half here, we're going to have a team looking at layovers of when he was at his best versus when he possibly wasn't. Okay, this is what I think we need to change. Go talk to this group. This is how we can do it in the weight room. And it's special because there's a lot of places. I've only been with the Dodgers. I'm fortunate to have only been with the Dodgers because I love being a part of the organization. But I don't know how many other organizations have that level of commitment from all departments toward one goal. And I think we do it in a way that always keeps an individualized approach to the player. It's very easy to look and say, hey, we want to create more hip shoulder separation. Let's go try it. It worked for him. You got to take it a step further and figure out mechanically what his movement style is, whether he's east, west, north, south, etc. Really get into the weeds and find the avenue that's going to take you to that common goal best for that player. It's different for everybody.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of staying with the Dodgers, obviously you're heading into your third or fourth year, and obviously longevity is really important for players and coaching staffs, and because you already know where you're going to be in the off season, so you don't have to worry about moving to a different state or wherever. But take us back to the promotion you got from the Arizona Fall League. You're still holding that title from the Arizona Fall League. What was that like for you in the promotion you got?
It was very humbling. We had a great year in the Arizona Fall League, and that was my first time as a pitching coach with the Dodgers. So I learned a ton just going through the process, not even the people that I was surrounded by that were helping me out with this, that, the other thing. And I think one of the most beneficial things for me, I had Bobby Cuellar as my mentor. He was a pitching coach when Pedro won the Cy Young with the Expos, when Randy Johnson won the Cy Young with the Mariners. Wow. So I had a guy in my corner that was unbelievable. I can't speak highly enough of him. So I had some really valuable resources, and it was just really rewarding to get the opportunity to go to Great Lakes because I don't take that lightly. We had an unbelievable team, high value arms, and you just want to repay the Dodgers for giving you that opportunity. It was incredible.
Wow. Yeah. So we have another fan question for you. They want to know if you had a celebration when you were pitching after a strikeout.
I did not. I didn't strike too many people out. I was an 88 to 91 mile an hour on my best day sinker baller. So I was sinker slider. I had a harder cutter. I was a big weak contact guy. So if I struck someone out, I just watched the infielders throw it around because I didn't get to do it too much.
Yeah. So speaking on going back to the Arizona Fall League, obviously, I love when players finish their season, but they want to continue to play and learn the game and get better. So you see players go to the Arizona Fall League. For example, for the Yankees, you got players going there now, like Jason Dominguez, Tyler Hardman, a couple other prospects. So as coaches, when you work with these minor leaguers for the whole season, how exciting is it to see them continuing to play baseball in the Arizona Fall League?
It's extremely exciting. It's an honor to get invited to go play in that league. And I mean, I kind of view it as a gap between maybe double and triple A because you've got the top prospects. So a lot of those guys, some of them played in double A, some of them that's where they'll be starting next year. And it's just going to expedite their process. And how quickly can we get them ready for the big leagues? It's the biggest pool of talent that you're going to see. So I think those guys just getting to go play with each other and against that kind of talent just speeds up their process. And it's going to show them early on, hey, what do I need to tweak to play at this level rather than waiting until double A? But you're just going to start to see guys grow faster for sure. So it's really exciting.
Yeah. So as everyone knows, MLB free agencies today, and one of the Dodgers' historic pitchers is a free agent this year, Clayton Kershaw, and some people expect him to be back, but we don't know. But in the case, I want to bring up Dustin May because he could be a big factor for the Dodgers this year coming up. What are your thoughts on Dustin May, and how excited should Dodgers fans be because he's coming off a horrific injury, but he's back now, healthy. But what are your thoughts on him and his development?
He's a special arm. He's unique in his size, long levers, the way he throws the ball. It's just electric stuff. You get to see him throw a baseball, and the only word that comes to mind is electric. And I think I was not in Arizona this season, obviously, so I didn't see him rehab, but I know everybody is extremely fired up about where he's at. And I know he's an extremely hard worker. So he's going to put himself in the best position going into 2023. I'd definitely be very excited about D-May.
Yeah, I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you expect Clayton Kershaw to be back next year?
See, that's not even putting me on the spot. I just have no idea. The stuff that those are behind closed door conversations that a little bit above my pay grade, but obviously he's a Dodger legacy. He just continues to go out and prove time and time again that he's still the Clayton Kershaw of old. Even if the stuff's different, he's finding a way to go dominate. So I think anytime you can have a Clayton Kershaw on your staff, it's a good day.
Yeah. We have another fan question for you. They want to know, what does it mean wearing the white uniform with the Dodgers symbol in front of it? And they want to know, what does it mean to you?
Man, it means everything to me, truly. One of the first things that happens when you get there, we have John Shoemaker, he's labeled as the captain of the minor leagues. He's the manager of Rancho Cucamonga right now. And he's one of the only ones that has a C on his jersey. And then you've got Luis Mega as well from the Dominican Republic. They both have C's. They're the only coaches, and they do an incredible job educating you on the history and the tradition of the Dodgers, going back to Brooklyn, their move to LA. And you just learn it's a lot more than a jersey. It's a culture. It's a way of going about things. And they label it as that people call it the Dodger way. And the Dodger organization, I don't think there's no signs anywhere that say the Dodger way. It's just an understood standard. We don't really have rules. It's just expectations of this is how you carry yourself. This is how you go about things. And it was a special day putting that one on for the first time.
Yeah. I obviously family is really important when it comes to being an athlete and a coach, and because they sacrifice a lot. And I always say family comes first, and the team comes second. And what's it been like for you to have your family from your behind your back from day one, especially your wife, who has to move too whenever you move, but knowing that you guys are gonna be there for a long time, what's that been like for you just to have her and your family members behind your back?
Oh, it's been incredible. I couldn't do it without my parents and now my wife. We got married 2 weeks
Oh yeah,
ago.
congrats!
So
Congrats on that.
thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, I'm still getting used to that. But we're really, really fortunate. My wife Molly, she is a physical therapist, so she does travel PT during the season. So we're fortunate enough that she can move to wherever we're at and usually find some work there. But she's unbelievably supportive. And she's our biggest fan. You're gonna see her if you ever go to a game. You'll hear her. And my parents they watch every single game from home. They come out as much as they can. So they're all the biggest support system that I could ever ask for. And that is huge because like you said, you uproot, you move around, and players become your family too. It's cool to see some of our players from this year, their girlfriends and wives will FaceTime Molly.
Mm-hmm.
You become a family really fast.
Yeah, and that's amazing part about it because the players' wives or girlfriend, you just mentioned the players' wives, girlfriends, or they connect with your wife, so that makes it even more special. As they become friends and obviously family, and that's what the most amazing part when I hear stories like that, when the wives connect or the girlfriends connect.
No doubt. And I remember special moments this year. We've got our center fielder, Ismael Alcantara, and he's from the Dominican. And all of a sudden, one day after a game, I see a little guy running around with him, and you find out that's his son.
Wow.
And it's like, it's easy to forget as a fan sometimes that like these guys, their families are there too. And they're playing for their families. They're playing for their team. And there's just so much at stake for them. It's a special bond to be able to be trusted with these guys' development with how much is on the line for them, for sure.
So we a couple of our fans just said congrats to you guys on the marriage, and one of our fans wants to know the $1 million question: did you guys go on your honeymoon yet?
We did. We went to Curacao, which is the home of Kenley Jansen and Ozzy Albies. So we had a player, Aldrich De Jong. He's from Curacao, and we told him we were looking at Curacao, and he started to show us some pictures, and we were like, that's the place. So we just got back from Curacao a couple weeks ago.
Wow. So speaking of Kenley Jansen, and how tough is it to see him in a different uniform with the Braves?
It's wild. I know it's part of the game and it's going to happen and there's turnover like that, but Kenley's been a part of the Dodgers since he was 16 years old as a catcher in the Dominican. So it was an odd sight to see him with the Braves, and then you flip him and Freddie, and you got two staples of each organization wearing each other's jerseys. It's just different, but that's the thing. Yeah. Yeah.
So speaking of, so before I get to the minor league team, I want to talk okay, let me ask you this. Let our fans know, where were you the day when Freddie Freeman signed that deal with the Dodgers? Where were you that day?
I was in Arizona. And I remember when that came through, I was like, no way. I couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. Just immediate excitement, immediate jolt of, holy cow, we got Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, and what are your thoughts on the front office of the Dodgers, like Andrew Freeman, the rest of the front office? What are your thoughts on them? And they said they just want to win, and they just go out there, find players. They all it's all about winning there. But what are your thoughts on the front office as they try and improve every year for you guys?
Man, I truly cannot speak highly enough about those guys. Friedman, Brandon Gomes, Jeff Kingston, Josh Burns, like the list goes on and on. All those guys, I'll never forget 2020. They're handing out the World Series rings, and they knew us by name. And it was just like, how the heck do these guys know us? We're development coaches down there, but truly, they're keeping tabs just as much on the minor leagues and what's going on as what's going on up top. And I don't know how they do it, but the care factor is second to none. And it's not just winning. They care about the people as well, which in turn helps you win. So it's just a special place, and it's top down. Without those guys, they set the tone for what the rest of the organization does, and they're unbelievable.
Yeah, so I'm going to name you some of some of the prospects that you worked with, and I'm going to let the Dodgers fans know how excited they should be. So,
All right.
Bobby Miller, Ryan Pitt, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
Gavin Stone, Landon Knack, Nick Nasserini, Maddox Buns, who else? Oh, Nick Frasso, Carlos Duran, Kyle Hurt, Emmett Sheehan, and then Michael Grove, Edgardo and Hendricks. But I can go on and on.
Yeah. I mean, even when you're reading those, it's like, all right, where's the next drop off? There isn't one. They're all incredibly talented in their own way. Obviously there's ones who you expect to see up in the big league sooner than the others, just based on age, experience, whatever it might be. But any one of those guys could be a special big league arm, which you don't get to say often. Obviously there's a long way to go to make it to the big leagues from low A, high A, double A. But all those guys have some form of unique talent that is above average. So that whole group is extremely exciting for sure. And we had, I think, 5 of the ones that you named, we had in Great Lakes at some point: Kyle Hurt, Gavin Stone, Sheehan, Nastrini, Duran, Frasso. So 6 of them we had in Great Lakes, and they're all incredible to work with and incredible talent for sure.
We have another fan question for you. They want to know what's it like working with Greg Golson, who is working with the Dodgers also, and who we had on the show too.
So funny story about Greg. I've never even told him this. So pitching in the Atlantic League, Greg was playing for the New Britain Bees, I believe. And I'm a 2-seam sinker guy. I had him with 2 strikes, and I threw a 2-seam that got away from me and hit him pretty high. And he was not super happy with me. And when we met at spring training, I said, I'm going to tell him who I am. And then I said, nope, we're going to wait on that one. So I still have not told him I'm the one that hit him. But he's a great guy. He was a competitor on the field, loved competing against him on the field, and he's an incredible scout. Our whole scouting department, they're second to none as well. That's one of the reasons guys like Greg, that we have the success that we have, because we feel like we are pretty good at developing a lot of aspects of the game. And the scouts take that, understand what we can and can't develop, and they'll tell her who they sign, who they're looking at based on they know we may or may not be able to do XYZ with this player. So again, just conjoined effort. And I think that gives us a leg up sometimes in how good the scouts are and what they understand, what we can develop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm just curious, let our fans know, what do you say when the players that you work with and they end up getting traded for like a big time player or established player? What do you say that's the toughest part of your job?
Yeah, this year was the first year it's happened to me. We had Alex DeJesus. He was our third baseman. He was traded to Toronto in the Nick Frasso trade. And that was just, it's kind of eye-opening because you still view some of these guys, they're kids. And now all of a sudden we're going from a big series against Lake County to, hey, you're watching in the stands, you're headed to Florida, to Toronto's facility tomorrow. And you really start to see what a family that locker room is. And it's like the guys are missing one of their brothers. So it's part of the game. It happens, but there's definitely an impact that you feel. So it's tough. It's not just moving asset X, Y, or Z, like you're moving a person. So it's hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So speaking of, what are you guys most looking forward to next season? And obviously now it's the off season, but what are you most looking forward to next year, working with these players and getting ready, geared up as a coaching staff, and trying to come up with the game plan for next year?
No doubt. We just started our meetings a couple weeks ago, and we're going to be getting after it in specific tailored areas. So each pitching coach knows this is what I got to work on going into next year. We'll have our placements figured out soon, and then we can really start to dive in on players. For me, it's exciting to see that list of guys that you had said and making them make that jump. They're going to do it on their own. how can we help them get there faster? But equally exciting is the guys that are maybe viewed below or ranked lower than those guys that we also feel like can make an impact. And okay, how do we get them into that group? So it's just that constant cycle of how do we get this guy one step further. So, I mean, it's daunting if you look at it overall and it's, man, how do we get all these arms? But you break it down to one guy and this is what we're going to focus on here. How do we get him to the next step? Great. Next guy, next step. And I think Rob Hill, our pitching director, extremely intelligent guy. And he's got a really good plan laid out that keeps us on track and in manageable bite-sized things to continue to keep the steps moving forward.
Well, yeah. So we'll take one more fan question. They want to know when you're not playing or when you're not working or not coaching, what else do you like to do on your off time? They want to know.
That's a great question. I like to golf. I do not get to golf as much as I like, but I love to golf. So anytime I can get on a golf course is a very enjoyable day for me.
Well, how's your golf game?
It's okay. I'm about a bogey golfer. If I shoot a 90, I'm happy.
That's crazy. Yeah. So for you, for yourself, what are you trying to do to improve on as a pitching coach and your own personal goals for next year and becoming better too?
That's a great question. And a big part of that is the way we go about our postseason reviews and evaluations, and that helps you tailor it for myself. There's so many areas that you can pick. Last year, I really focused on biomechanical movement analysis, anatomy, stuff of that nature to start really honing in on the delivery. And now I think there's some areas in more refined parts of arsenal development, pitch shaping, pitch sequencing, that I'll probably hone in on this offseason. 2 years ago, my main one was swing read and game planning. So it's always just kind of picking and figuring out where the ceiling is for each thing and how can we get the lowest level higher. So a lot of self-reflection and reflection with, our farm director, our assistant farm director, our pitching coordinators, and our manager from last year has really helped me hone in on where I think I can improve the most going into next year.
Well, yeah. So before we get to the last two things, do you know how we can stop the Astros from winning?
Oh man.
Geez. This is crazy. This is getting ridiculous.
They got hot again, and they seem like they got guys that just jump in and produce. I mean, you had Pena hopping in the 2-hole, hitting home runs, and he looks like he's very youthful.
I feel like he's a better player now when Carlos Correa started, in my opinion.
He's a game changer.
Yeah.
They're another organization that we view as a top tier developmental organization. And the proof's in the pudding. They keep showing up and they keep winning. So we just got to find a way to continue to match them and hopefully get over the hump and see them in the World Series at some point soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the last two things here, our team is part of this foundation. It's called the Hugh Jackson Foundation. He's a former NFL coach, but now he's coaching at Grambling State University, and we're trying to help him prevent human trafficking and making sure the community stays safe. So we'll send you the foundation so you can go check it out.
That'd be awesome. That is very good cause. That would be great.
Yeah. And the last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and all the essential workers right now?
Oh, of course. So my mom's a pharmacist. My wife's a physical therapist. So there's some medical personnel in my life, and I know how much they do for us and people that we don't even realize. So always grateful for what they do, especially through the COVID era that's not quite over. But whatever it is that we're going through, those people are always there to help us out, and can't thank them enough.
Yeah, well said. And tell your wife and your mother that we said thank you for their service too.
Absolutely, will do.
And yeah, so there you have it. Minor league pitching coach Dave Anderson from the Dodgers, from the Great Lakes Loons. Tell our fans where they can follow you on Instagram.
Absolutely. I am on Instagram at danderson_3. I don't post too much, but I'm there.
Yeah. So thank you again for joining the show, and thank you to our fans for asking great questions too. And this was fun and getting to learn more about your story. And Man, thank you again for sharing it on this platform, and keep up the great work. We'll be rooting for you throughout your whole career, and I'm hoping one of these days you'll be a pitching coach for the major league team, hopefully. But keep up the great work, man. You guys have a great staff in the minor league system, and you guys have awesome players coming up pretty soon. And like I said, the Dodgers top class organization with the Yankees and Astros and all these other teams. But you guys are the way you guys go. You guys are building the right way, and thank you again for joining the show.
I appreciate it. No, anytime. Thank you for having me, and really, really appreciate it.
No problem.